Okay, welcome to the Fitness Warehouse podcast. Today's guest we have Brandon Blair, head coach at CrossFit Regina. Brandon is also a Lululemon ambassador, a husband and a father, and a two-sport collegiate athlete participating in both golf and hockey. Welcome to the show, Brandon.
Thank you very much.
Brandon and I met about 4 or 5 years ago now.
5 years ago.
At 5 years, yeah.
Yeah.
At CrossFit Regina when you performed an open workout. Short conversation afterwards when you were done suffering and caught your breath. Known each other ever since. So let's get right into it. So a couple of easier questions here. What does your daily routine look like?
My daily routine right now is pretty consistent. I've got a young child who wakes up at 6 a.m. basically every morning, and from 6 until 8, I'm on daddy duty. So get to spend a little time with the little guy. We feed him, go through some playtime. At 8 o'clock is when I'm allowed to go and hand him off to mom if she's not at work, and then I become dog dad. I've got a very high energy, large dog who needs a lot of attention. So at basically 8 o'clock from 8 till 9:30, it's time to walk the dog and then have a quick bite to eat and make my way to the gym. I start coaching every day at 10 a.m. From 10 until usually 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon is my first shift. I go home, spend a little more time with the little guy, have some food, another dog walk, and I make my way back. I typically start my second coaching sessions at either 4 or 5, and then they run either until 7 or 8 or 9 in the evening, depending on kind of what different things I have. But that's a pretty consistent day. I'm fortunate that I get to train myself with one of the groups that I'm coaching. So from 10 until noon, I'm working with some competitors who have quite a bit of development in the sport of CrossFit, know the movements, know the exercises, which I'm still watching to give them their feedback, their pointers, but they get upset if I don't train with them. So I've been kind of blessed, I guess, to be able to train along with them as well. Don't quite have the same goals that they have, but it allows me to get my training in at whatever capacity it is that I'm working at, while still maintaining a good amount of ability to coach and watch what's going on around me.
Oh, okay. So competing in CrossFit is in your past.
Something that, yeah, currently, not to say that I won't ever do it again. It's just something I dedicated so much of my life to for a couple of years. And with that dedication, you do make some sacrifices in other areas. And I'm just not willing to make those sacrifices anymore. So just some life changes that have changed my priorities.
Yeah, that definitely happens. Absolutely. Who is your favorite CrossFit Games athlete and why that one?
Oh, man. So I think I'm going to go with the true GOAT, Mr. Froning. Oh yes. As you mentioned, we met each other 5 years ago when I got introduced to CrossFit, had no real idea what it was, got thrown into my first open workout, thought I did great, found out I lost by about 600 reps to a guy named Rich Froning. There was a video of him doing that workout, at which point my mind was blown to see that someone actually did that many reps, showing me that I wasn't as efficient or as skilled in those movements as I thought I was. And that kind of unlocked that whole YouTube rabbit hole where at the time Rich Froning was kind of the king of CrossFit. He was the one you saw a lot of info about, still very involved in the sport. I'm a guy who likes the dominant athlete. So he would be my choice. Fraser, he's doing really well right now. I tend to lean away from him a little bit, but still, Froning's my guy.
Okay. So you said the true GOAT being Froning.
Yes.
In your opinion, what would it take for Fraser to be able to unseat him?
Be alive in that same era to compete against him when he was doing that.
So
there is really no.
Yeah.
I feel like in sports you can't compare Wayne Gretzky and Bobby Orr. They played at a different time. Same thing with Sidney Crosby now. As a whole, the entire field of CrossFit has gotten better.
Okay.
Though that from what happens within the gym from a day-to-day basis from now to even 5 years ago, it's amazing how far the entire sport or even just this world of fitness has grown and the things that people can do. Fraser is absolutely the best right now and maybe the best of all time, but he didn't build the sport the same way. And so just because I was around during that time that Froning was building, he just stays a little true to me, just like I'm a Crosby guy. I don't think McDavid has the same skill that Crosby does.
Hmm.
Yet you talk to today's generation, they'll be heavy on McDavid. So I
Yeah.
think it's just who you're comfortable with and who you see.
So like old man Crosby is yesterday's
Yeah,
news, and
old man 32-year-old Crosby, he's out.
yeah. What do you think is a tougher sport between golf or hockey?
Well, I believe that those two sports may be two of the toughest sports just as a whole. I always go with hockey because of the skating. For many people, the access to be able to skate or be on ice makes it a very challenging thing to do. If you didn't grow up skating, it's not going to come natural to you. For that sake, I may say hockey. For just the sheer difficulty of golf and what they're doing now with the length of courses and just the excess amount of water and bunkers, and they can
Hmm.
make that as hard as they want for already a sport that is so challenging. But I just think for that everyday person, yeah, they could swing a golf club but put a pair of skates on and they're going to get hindered by that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What drives you towards fitness? What keeps you coming back as a coach? Morning after morning after evening after evening, and
Big thing for me was I enjoyed the active lifestyle. My parents were big on that. I didn't grow up with video game systems. I appreciate it now that I just was never anything we had in the house. I have older brothers and sisters who are also very active, so I've always spent my life trying to keep up with them. Whether they were playing hockey, I wanted to play hockey. If they were playing baseball, or you name the sport, and that was very much our upbringing and our lifestyle. My parents encouraged us to be active in multiple sports, so we didn't just focus on one and that was all we did. When it was baseball season, we played baseball. When it was hockey season, we played hockey. We didn't do those things in the alternate years, but that gave us a lot of access to different sports and different activities. And then from that, I really gained a lot of enjoyment in helping other people reach their potential in those activities.
Mhm.
So whether it is golf or in this world of fitness or whatever it may be, I really understood movement. I enjoyed what it did for me and the benefits that it gave me. And I really saw that as being a benefit that I could help give to others.
Yeah.
That's still, I see a lot of joy now as someone who doesn't compete anymore. I get a lot of enjoyment from seeing somebody who does have the goal of competing and reaching their goals, or somebody who has a goal of being able to get out of their bed easier or get out of their car or do these daily activities. By helping them with efficiency of movements and unlocking some of those areas that maybe was hindering them before, this just now has opened up a whole new doorway for them, and I see that as just such a gratifying thing to be able to give to others.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a fantastic answer. And going back to your point of not having the access to gaming consoles when you were a kid, my brother and I were the same way. Like we had a gaming console, but really like if it was in between March and October, you were outside
Yep.
8 hours a day or as many hours as you could, just avoiding the indoors as much as possible, playing as many sports as possible, just moving, moving, moving. My brother continued throughout the year in the winters, playing on the outdoor rinks. He never did play organized hockey. Myself, I didn't enjoy being cold,
Fair
so
enough.
and I never learned how to stop. So it was always a crash into the boards or into the snowbanks of the outdoor rinks that didn't have the boards. And myself, I turned towards wrestling when I was in high school and then throughout university. It was nice to find CrossFit as another indoor sport because otherwise, I'd probably be cold. So that was
you
my big.
you live in the
my
wrong
big concern.
climate for your
Yeah, absolutely. No, I should have been a Mediterranean child, that's for sure. So moving to what's unique about your coaching style?
um well, I think part of it is my experience. I've been around movement, as I just mentioned, my whole life. I have been coaching people since I was 20, so I'm going on 13 years of coaching movement. I also used to coach a lot within the sport of hockey. I did a lot of hockey schools. I did so with this so much access or time in front of people, I've been able to develop a little bit of that ability to read someone. Some people need that kick in the butt. Some people need some encouragement. I feel that now with this time in this industry and watching people move and kind of understanding some of that feedback just of outside life things of to really get into what's going to make that person tick. I find that when people are coming to me, they're trying to get away from their problems that they have going on, whether it be work or family or whatever it is, that when they come in here, I want this to be that we say a lot that most enjoyable hour of their day, but that starts with how you treat someone. So being able to read that situation of, hey, maybe that person needs a little pick me up, or maybe they just need that little extra kick on that day, or whatever it might be. So I
Yeah.
think that's definitely a big aspect to my coaching. And the other thing is just the amount of reps I've seen.
Hmm.
So I've seen more squats than I want to even begin to admit, but yet I'm always going to start there. I feel it's such a base of beginning. And now just from seeing so many people move, when a movement is slightly out of what is that traditional form, I see that and I'm able to spot things and help out making those cues to just help you find that alignment to get the best out of it and also be the safest and be most efficient.
That's a good answer. Yeah,
Thank you.
lots of repetitions on the squats.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
so many
Spend your
squats.
life squat.
Yeah. What would you say is the hardest part about programming for so many members? You guys are upwards of 300 at
Yep.
CrossFit
Yep.
Regina here, and you handle the programming for the vast majority of that, correct?
Yeah, I do a lot of the programming, whether it be for we call it that competitive stream. Now, that's not necessarily all competitive CrossFit athletes. It is a more involved CrossFit program. The traditional CrossFit program, that GPP, the general physical preparedness that we really preach in our general classes. We also do have kind of that CrossFit Plus, if you will,
Oh, okay.
which is going to get a little bit more involved into, you're going to see some of the Olympic lifts a little bit more frequently. There's going to be some strength bias programs built in, as well as a lot of CrossFit.
Okay.
So just building those athletes that are looking to become that full well-rounded CrossFit athlete working in the sport of CrossFit. So kind of its own specialty. I program or all of the programming for those athletes. I also work with a lot of the hockey teams that are in the city. So kind of last year I had that Adam and Pee Wee age. I've already been reached out, heard from some Pee Wee and Bantam ages this year, but getting some of that team training. So working through the agility work and some of the stuff that isn't necessarily seen on ice or directly in sport, building that strength so that they can apply it to sport.
Okay.
So I'll do a lot of that programming. Also, I work with a lot of one-on-one clients. I specifically take on more of the clients that are, whether it's rehabbing movement, coming out of injury, to figure out what is some motor patterns that we can address to not have that as a reoccurring injury, or even just some special situations. Somebody who's spent their entire life not thinking about fitness or not having this part of their lifestyle, and then appropriately building that back into their lifestyle. So starting wherever they are within their current journey and working through that journey with them at their pace, at their levels, to making sure that we're not pushing them out of their comfort zone. But a big thing that I do just within my own programming, I do program for such a wide net of people, I would say. Within that programming, I think one of the big keys is you're going to have beginners, you're going to have intermediates, and you're going to have even some of those that may be considered pro or in that expert level. I feel that you should always program to the level of that top competitor.
Okay.
Every movement is scalable, every movement has a progression, and all of us fit into that somewhere, wherever that is.
Okay.
The ultimate stimulus is what I'm after. So whether it's a workout that yourself can maybe do with a certain weight and complete that workout in 5 minutes, I'm looking for that beginner to feel that same type of stimulus in that time domain. Perhaps that is a different variation of the movement, a lighter weight, or depending, just working with the people at their level, but having that ability to scale and have everyone fit into a workout in their capacity, I believe is where the magic seems to happen, especially within that community of CrossFit.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think is the hardest part about somebody getting started in CrossFit? Both somebody who's interested in getting started in the fitness world, what's the hardest part about getting them through the door? And then also once they are through the door, what's the hardest part about becoming consistent with coming back?
With that one, it makes me think of kind of a big answer or question I get a lot. I have people who know me as the CrossFit guy. I've been in this world for a little bit or a little while. Even in this time that I've been in this world, we've seen kind of the rise of the CrossFit Games, so the sport of CrossFit, which took a lot of attention, and then now with a little bit of their kind of redirection of the company, you're seeing the rise of the games maybe put back on the afterburner and more into that health realm. And I think that actually goes very well with what I see on a consistent basis. We have a lot of people that are very attracted to the excitement of the sport. They see the games on TV. They've found what's going on YouTube, or perhaps they've seen some of our more elite athletes that are very fast to post their own highlight reel on Instagram. All of a sudden, that highlight reel becomes, or what we perceive as, the sport.
Right.
We think that to come into CrossFit, you have to be able to walk on your hands, and you have to be able to snatch 200 pounds, and you have to be able to do muscle ups. When in fact, even those elite guys didn't come in with that ability. Most of them come in at their level. So I think intimidation is a big factor that a lot of people deal with. They maybe think, I hear this a lot, I have to get in shape to do CrossFit.
Oh, yeah.
Which is one of the biggest comedic things, I think. Now, just that's perception of what they see, and even through media of what is fitness, or what we've been fed is fitness for the last 50 years. We get into those cycles. So I find that a lot of people, they come in with a little bit of apprehension and intimidation. When people come to me and say, like, sell me on CrossFit, my response is always, come give it a try and make your opinion on it. Like, I know that CrossFit, in my opinion, is the best way for me to get fit. I've enjoyed it. I constantly am learning new skills. I've developed as a person immensely because of this sport. And I think that that's so valuable. I can see, though, why it intimidates people. And so having that initial icebreaker of trying a class, realizing that, oh, this is a group of people just like myself who have jobs, have families, have kids, and they're trying to continue their ability to stay fit at whatever degree that is, whether they're trying to be the fittest on earth, which is that CrossFit Games, or whether they are that person trying to be able to live their daily life with less effort,
Right.
and to be able to do more things, to unlock your ability to be able to go biking or walking or whatever it might be when you're on vacation. So those are the big things of where that intimidation comes from. I find when people get in the door, we like to start off with a little bit more of a one-on-one, to work with someone at their level, to see, like, hey, this is the space, this is some of the movements, and to go through those movements at their level, learning it at their pace, so that when they are comfortable to go beyond that and moving into class, it's just a little bit of our kind of stepping stones to work through some of that initial intimidation that comes. There can be a lot going on in CrossFit in terms of movements. There is a lot to take on. I find some people, they try to come into it and think, I need to know all of this right now, when just like any acquisition of sport, you kind of start at the base, and you're going to move through that base at your level, finding the comfort level as you move through it. So for me, the big one is that just that initial session, coming in here, seeing the space, meeting the people, seeing what's going on, maybe seeing some other familiar faces that, hey, that person's just like me, whatever that might be. That is a big kind of first hurdle to get through. Same thing within classes. Myself as a coach, I like to start off the classes involving those who are in the class with me. I like to just use the question of the day. I purposely don't come up with one until I'm right there on the spot, because it makes me uncomfortable and it kind of gives a laugh to people. But then all of a sudden, now having someone say their name, telling me whether they like a red or blue popsicle, that all of a sudden gets them just a little bit out of that shell, trusting a little bit of the environment, getting involved with the community. And then from there, it's just that snowball effect. A little bit more, and that little bit more, and that little bit more, and all of a sudden, they're just like everyone else walking in on Tuesday, because it's the day that they train, and then they go back and continue on their day, and they just continue to build and build and build, and all the success that comes with it. I kind of went on a bit of a tangent there, but
no. And I'll see if I can kind of wrap it up real quick. So basically, the big thing is, the hard part is having people become less intimidated by the sport of CrossFit and what they've seen on YouTube and throughout the CrossFit Games and their friends' highlight reel on Instagram, like you mentioned. Once they get in the door, it's a little bit easier to keep them coming consistently, because first thing you notice when you walk into a CrossFit gym is there's just a bunch of normal people working out, and there might be two of those scary guys in the corner that, shirts are tucked away in the corner and they're screaming and grunting, and really not even intimidating people. They're just working out in a different facet. But for the most part, it's what you would call quote unquote normies working out and just having a good time and spending an hour together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. Well, that's all the harder questions that I have for you. So the rapid fire. So we're going to try and keep these down to one word,
Limit
one or
my
two words.
rants.
Yeah, one or two words if we can, a sentence if we need to, and if we really need to open one up and dig into it, then absolutely. Favorite hockey player,
Pavel Bure.
favorite golfer.
Tiger Woods.
Okay, and so just with the gotta ask because the Pavel Bure, why Pavel Bure over top of Wayne Gretzky?
Okay, so and I remember the day actually. And this leads back to something I said earlier where I said I didn't have video games. Well, I was at a friend's house who had a Sega Genesis, and we were playing NHL 92. I was the Vancouver Canucks, and he was, I'm not sure who else, but while we were playing, we realized that there was a fault in the game, and if you shot it from along the goal line in the right corner, it would go in the net. I scored 16 goals with Pavel Bure that game. As a 6-year-old,
Yeah.
I was so blown away that that cartoon character could do that.
Yeah.
Found out that he is a real person that they called the Russian Rocket. I got real into the Vancouver Canucks at that time.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to meet him just through a
really?
coincidence where he was at an event that I was at as well. We got to meet him. He signed me an autograph. I still have that autograph
Yeah.
to this day.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, he can just do nothing wrong still.
Yeah.
He was one of the, if had it not been for injury, he would be, I think, on that list of some of those all-time greats.
Yeah.
I might be far off by that, but he just always stuck with me. And then having that personal connection, he was so nice to me that day. Didn't speak a great English,
Yeah.
but spoke to me. I was a 6-year-old kid, shook my hand, signed me an autograph. This was before the days of pictures, so I don't have a picture of it, but
Yeah.
I still very much remember that effect. And even when he got traded afterwards to, I believe he went to Florida and then New York and some different things, but
Yeah.
he still always remained my favorite player.
Yeah.
And actually, I still even know he's still involved in hockey in Russia today.
really?
And even, I think I've even heard that he's involved in some government stuff as well. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, even though I don't have any relation to him whatsoever, I'm
Might not
still
be substantiated.
he's still my favorite. He could come back at any time, and I'd be cheering for him.
So not necessarily the GOAT of hockey per
No.
se, but the GOAT of NHL 92.
92 for Sega
that's
Genesis.
perfect,
Yeah, yeah.
When I was a kid, I met Roberto Alomar, and I was 12, so that's 94.
Yeah.
So right after the 92, 93, and they played a game in Regina here, and I got onto the field. I lost my brother, got onto the field, and this press guy was nice enough to kind of pick me up and take me down to the field level, and I met Roberto Alomar, Aceto Gaston, and a couple of the other guys, and met Roberto Alomar in the tunnel, and shook my hand, and he's like, "You got something to sign?" And I was like, I don't. I wasn't prepared for this. We were in the nosebleeds.
Yeah.
My brother and I got separated. I got pulled down to field level on a fluke, and so I just held out my hand, and he signed my hand.
Perfect.
And being a 12-year-old, I was probably too old to even think this, but I thought I was going to keep that. So like I had it in saran wrap so I could show the kids at school the next day. I thought I wasn't going to wash my hand for a while and it would stay on. I traced it again to keep it on. But yeah, unfortunately I didn't get to keep my
Didn't get to hold on to that one.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe another time. What's the best part about being a CrossFit coach?
I get to come in and help people every day. I know there's a lot of other jobs that do that. I said this before too. I try to make this for the most time or most part. People are coming in for an hour, so if this is that best hour of their day where they don't have to think about their problems and things like that, it's very rewarding to see people be happy about their first box jump or their first muscle up, or it doesn't really matter what it is, but you see that gratification in someone's face of they put in the work and they did it. So you being whatever that small part may be to help them get to that is very rewarding. I had chased a career in emergency services for a few years due to some health conditions. I'm no longer able to work in that field, but that was that same thing. That ability of knowing you're there for someone else has always been kind of what I've been after in my search of work. It's whether it was in playing hockey, I didn't like seeing someone else get picked on. I'd want to be the one stepping in and help out. Got me beat up a couple times.
Yeah.
In this sense, it's a lot safer variation, but I can be that one to step in and say like, hey, let's try this as opposed to that. Let's adjust our position here. Let's maybe mix in some water instead of some pop every now and then. Those types of things. Yeah. But it is very rewarding to see that little bit that you do each day can actually make a big impact to someone in their life, and that might then filter down to their kids, and so on and so forth. And I just feel that is right now a great use of my skills.
Good. What's the best part about being a Lululemon ambassador?
Ooh, my partnership with Lululemon is amazing. I'm going on to my third term as Lululemon ambassador, so this is my fifth and sixth year. Um, I found out so much about that company that I didn't know prior to this. So knowing about their growth and development company that sells black stretchy pants. That's what I've really come to realize, and it's so unique to see and have the opportunities to be involved in some of those initiatives that they're doing. That yes is funded by those black stretchy pants, but whether it be mental health retreats, whether it's yoga, which people think about, the opportunities they've afforded me within my with golf and within fitness. It's such a company that isn't asking for anything of me, yet they've given me so much. It almost is a bit of a platform, and I'm so grateful for it. And to be associated with a brand that has such a brand power, it's very humbling. And I also love the clothes.
And for me, that would have one word answer. That probably would have been clothes. But after hearing you unwrap that a little bit, that's fantastic. I did not realize that they did so much. Like I've seen you on Instagram just going places and doing the yoga retreats and such. But I haven't heard from anybody on either side of that on like how much growth and development they do and what exactly their platform is. That's incredible. Before I ask my final question, where can people find you? Where can people find CrossFit Regina?
Sure. Myself personally, I guess that social media handles, I'm active on Instagram to a point. Brandon86blair is my Instagram handle. I have Snapchat, but I don't know how to use it. I am still on Facebook as just my name, Brandon Blair, something that I haven't used as often anymore. But those are the easiest ways to find me. Instagram is definitely the easiest. That's how most people do get a hold of me through. I answer my messages through Instagram, and it's just finding that's the easiest way to connect with people. CrossFit Regina is at CrossFit Regina is our Instagram handle, which will give you information to upcoming events that we've got going on. A lot of our community, we try to be active with our Instagram story and even on our feed just of the community itself. We've been really highlighting those members lately that some people always only think of like, well, who's that elite sport racer CrossFitter?
Right.
Where they forget about, well, what about everyone else who is working just as hard within their realm, and that I think we've done a great job lately. And I noticed I was scrolling through the other day. I'm not the one who handles that Instagram account, but I was scrolling through the other day, being really in awe of actually reading the stories of some of these people that where they got to sit down in a scenario like this and maybe get a little bit more in depth of things that you don't maybe connect with as much in that coach-client relationship. And so it was so awesome to see and to hear how much joy this has brought to our lives, and if we're able to continue helping in that way, I think that's so beneficial. And it's just I've really enjoyed lately seeing that and just showing who we are and who it is that is a part of this community.
Good. Final question. You're trapped on an island. The plane crashed. You can only grab the most important fitness equipment to make sure that you stay active on the island.
All right, if I can only take one, I'm a dumbbell guy.
Okay.
I think the versatility, I would love to have a barbell. I would love to have all those other fancy things. But the versatility of the dumbbell, I think is, if I got one, that's where I'm going to go.
Okay.
Do I get one dumbbell or two?
I was going to ask, are you going back into the plane after you've rescued the first dumbbell? Do you need it that bad, or is it just one dumbbell?
If it's only one thing, I'm still happy with one dumbbell. If I can get two, I just have opened my toolbox that much more. But yeah, I feel like that one dumbbell, you could spend a lifetime of fitness with that one dumbbell.
Awesome. Perfect. That's everything I have. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this with me.
Thank you.
We can be found at Fitness Regina on Instagram or the YouTube channel Fitness Warehouse. Thanks for tuning in.